60 Minutes Rewind.
2.5 million Americans served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we wondered what's become of them long after they cut down the yellow ribbons and the camo went into hiding in the back of the closet. What do they think of their war? Was coming home the homecoming they hoped for? Recently, we joined an annual reunion of men that we first met 5 years ago. It was back in 2009 that Gulf Company, 2nd Battalion of the 8th Marines, was taking the highest casualties on Afghanistan's most lethal battlefield. When we met them again last summer in Washington, we found that their searing experience had made them brothers in war and peace. We caught up with them on a field trip, part of their Washington reunion. They fell in without uniforms, weapons, or the passing of years. They're mostly civilians now, gathered in one place they could be together. The place they could say things that had been left unsaid, or deliver news of the last 5 years. Gulf Company's Lance Corporal Burrow and Lieutenant Bourgeois were enlisted in the ranks of Arlington National Cemetery. Each stone arch, a gateway through time.
Lance Corporal Jonathan F. Stroud. Lance Corporal Gregory A. Posey.
This was September 2009. We were there as Gulf Company stood rigid in a mud-walled memorial service. It was the first time the troops had come to grips with the terrible loss signified by 7 battlefield crosses. First Sergeant Robert Pullen called the roll of the dead.
Lance Corporal Patrick W. Schimmel. Lance Corporal Dennis J. Burrell. Lance Corporal Javier Olvera. Lance Corporal David R. Hall.
The 7 Marines had died fighting to clear and hold the Taliban heartland. Exhausting months negotiating around landmines and skeptical elders. Back then, their orders were to use restraint, and Corporal Jonathan Kiseno told us what he thought of that.
It sucks. I don't know another word to say it. It sucks because all you want to do is get that guy. You just want to get them, for everything, I don't, for revenge, to say the least.
Revenge for the death of his friend, Nick Exaros, who was killed in 2009 by a roadside bomb. 5 years later, Kiseno had used his veterans' benefits for college, and now he's selling retirement plans for Lincoln Financial outside Philadelphia. He moved on, but he never let go of Exaros.
It's because of people like him that I want to continue to push harder in life and succeed, because it's the good ones that pass. And I can't let that be in vain. It drives me, it motivates me.
Is there anything that you miss about Afghanistan and the Marine Corps?
Absolutely. The brotherhood. There's no question about that. You miss the sense of purpose, right? You had a mission. You felt accomplished with everything that you do, even at a young age. I think when you transition into the real world, you have to find out what your mission is.
A lot of people would think you would try to forget Afghanistan, and it seems to me you're trying to remember it.
I don't want to put it behind me. I want it to be real in everything that I do, because it gives me something to live for. It gives me something to stand for.
I love the camaraderie and everything that came along with it.
There's nothing like it.
Nothing. I haven't found anything like it.
Gulf Company's Rory Hamill was so dedicated to the camaraderie, he went back to Afghanistan for another tour in 2011.
I suppose it was to try and get back at the guys that killed my brothers.
Tell me about the day you were wounded.
Came across a local national who gave us some intelligence on the ground that there was an IED in a compound next to his house. I took the minesweeper off my point man's back, and I jokingly said, "See you on the other side." I got about 3/4 of the compound swept, and then I stepped on a low metallic pressure plate. And my leg was instantly sheared off. I remember it seemed very surreal. My vision went gray. There was a lot of ringing, dust everywhere. When the dust settled, his right leg was gone, halfway up the thigh. At Walter Reed Medical Center, President Obama brought him an honor. He ordered me with the Purple Heart It was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
You must have been in a pretty dark place otherwise.
Oh yeah. The first 2 weeks, a lot of the thoughts going through my head were, why didn't I die? What am I going to do now with my life?
Were there times that you wish you hadn't survived?
Yeah. I was contemplating taking my own life, but sitting and thinking about it, realizing that I have children that depend on me, I knew that was not the right course of action.
Urged onto a different course by his father, Hamill pressed through counseling and physical therapy. He's found work managing logistics in a Navy program for wounded warriors. Having been through everything you've been through, would you do it again?
In a heartbeat. It made me the man I am today.
Whether they like it or not, I still feel responsible, for them.
They're still your Marines.
They always will be.
Gulf's battalion commander was Lieutenant Colonel Christian Cabanis.
In this summer of decision in Afghanistan in 2009, you are going to change history.
Living the dream, 1 minute at a time.
Today, he's Colonel Cabanis, and he joined this reunion. Why do you think some of the Marines are still struggling after they've come home, after 5 years?
I think in some ways we all do when we come back, is because we're trying to put that experience into perspective. I joked, I'm never more popular coming home from a deployment than right before the bus door opens. Superman's coming, Superman's coming, Superman's coming. The door opens, oh, it's just him. And they expect you to fall back into those roles. Husband, father, brother, nephew, cousin, uncle, as if nothing changed.
There were definitely times when I questioned what we were doing over there.
5 years ago, Dan O'Hara was a fresh second lieutenant leading his first combat platoon. What's the biggest threat to your Marines?
The biggest threat would be the improvised explosive devices.
He told us then that he joined the Marines because he didn't want to regret not serving. It turned out we met on what would be his worst day.
We should be good pushing up through here until we get near that IED site.
It was a mission to defuse a landmine, and it went exactly according to plan. But on the way back, Lance Corporal David Hall detonated a second bomb. And the next day, O'Hara tried to give meaning to Hall's death.
So just understand, we're doing the right things. We're doing good work. We're making a difference here. We're here fighting for the people of Afghanistan, and we're here ultimately fighting for our country.
Should we have been in Afghanistan? I don't know. Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe it's no. And so when I run into people who say, tell me about Afghanistan, what were our goals there? Should we have been there? I think I'm in the same boat where I would say, to be honest with you, I don't know.
After 2 tours and a lot of questions, O'Hara's been recruited into General Electric's program for returning vets. He's a project manager for GE Oil and Gas, and sometimes he thinks about running for office.
I had done what I wanted to do in the Marine Corps. I could say I deployed twice in the defense of my nation, so that was something I was proud of. There's certainly a part of you that says, I'm glad that that's over with.
Goodbye to all that.
Yeah. Goodbye to Afghanistan. I won't be seeing you again.
The story will continue after this.
Those images are burned in your head, man. They never go away. They never go away.
Afghanistan did not leave Gulf Company's Devin Jones. Like many others, Jones brought the war home.
It was rough. I didn't do anything during the day. I moved at night. That was it.
The anxiety of post-traumatic stress left him isolated and jobless.
You're getting closer to being on the streets. You're getting eviction notices. You're getting those, and you're just like, man, this is bad.
Did you lose the apartment?
Yeah, I ended up losing it.
Where'd you go?
For a little while, I stayed in my storage unit.
You were living in a storage unit?
Yeah. Staying in the storage unit.
Why aren't you reaching out for help?
I felt like a complete idiot, like a complete failure. I went from being a very proud combat, veteran to another, percentage of the homeless vets. It's so much easier to give up. You go from having a job, a stable job, having everyone that cares about you around you 24/7, to being alone, broke, eating saltine crackers, living in a storage unit. Who wouldn't want to die?
But what torments Jones is that he isn't alone. There is the persistent presence of his friend Dennis Burrow. After Burrow was killed by a landmine, Gulf Company put his name on a combat outpost so he wouldn't be forgotten. But it turns out that isn't the problem. The dead are immortal in the mind.
Were you there when Burrow died?
Yes. Yes, I was.
What happened?
I'm not sure if I really want to go into detail on that too much. You know, I don't want to be the person that the family hears that from, if they don't already know. You know, it's not easy to think about that day, because that was a pretty rough day. Sorry.
I'm sorry that it's so hard to remember that.
It's all right.
You're still looking out for Burrow.
Yeah. You never stop looking out for your team. Your team's everything. I've had nightmares where I've just been sitting there just staring at him.
Did you sometimes think you'd like to trade places?
Every day. Every single day. How do I deserve to be here? It's been a long time, bud. Miss you, dude. Nothing else to really say. Just look after us. Look after, you know, everybody else, man. Just know I'm thinking about you, bud.
The men do look after one another. Phone calls at 3 a.m. to be reminded that what got them through combat will get them through whatever they're fighting now. There is a bond that only a vet can know, that does not loosen with time.
Where do you think these Marines will be 5 years from now?
What I really hope is, 5 years from now, they're still coming together to see each other, to talk to each other, and they're talking about their kids and the things that are going on in their lives, so that they've been able to put that experience in perspective and use it as a foundation. Because I said that these kids are our next greatest generation, but not necessarily because of what they did on the battlefield. It's going to be because of what they did when they got home.